Hello. Um, Obviously, welcome to episode 2. Yes, I am having another soft drink, um, mostly because I think they're just yummy. Uh, Today's episode is gonna be very, very interesting. Um, but it's only gonna be interesting if like you're willing to learn or like you're willing to allow yourself to feel something. If you don't want to feel anything, probably this is not the place for you. But if you're okay with feeling stuff, then welcome to the table. As usual, this is Nachasa Kimberly. Um, so I'm going to start by saying that embarrassment is a tuition for greatness. And that is a statement that I coined because I have gone through a lot of embarrassment in the last few days. um, so initially I had pre-recorded this episode like a while back. Then I did it again, and then I did it again, and it was just not landing. And one thing that I usually tell myself is that I will only talk about stuff that I have gone through or I am willing to go through, because I know that words have power, and the moment we say stuff, then it either comes to pass or I don't know. The word of God says that as a man thinketh, so is he. So basically, your thoughts, your patterns, your habits, they eventually form who you are. So I'm very, very careful about the things that I talk about. So I had filmed like this episode almost, some time ago. And as I was thinking about like the framework of how I was going to post it, it wasn't landing. And I think I had to go through embarrassment for this to be very relatable to people who are going to be watching. So, yes, embarrassment is a tuition for greatness. I believe that we need to allow our mistakes to do the work they're supposed to do in us. Okay? If you don't allow yourself to learn from your mistake and you kind of want to learn from other people's mistakes, which is fine, the lesson will not land as much as it would have if you're the one who was walking through it. I'll give you an example. As children, you're told don't play with fire or don't be out there playing like rough games, and then you decide that as a child you are going to go ahead and play. If you fall down, you're gonna get hurt. Unless you're a cheeky boy or a cheeky girl, you go back to the same thing. But if you are one person like me who does not like to have like scars and stuff, I have scars, but I didn't like it's not something that I prefer. But I think that life has a way of humbling us so that we go through these embarrassing moments and we make these mistakes even when we know we should not have done certain things. We end up doing them, but it's usually a learning experience. As I was preparing for this episode, I did a lot of research. I think one of the things that podcasts are missing these days is people just want to yap. People just want to talk. I don't want to do that. I want to come like with concrete evidence, concrete stories, like things that actually matter. And as I said, I'm going to be writing down stuff the whole year because I believe that when you write things down, it kind of cements stuff, like the way different countries have different constitutions. If the constitution was like somewhere in the air, it wouldn't really make sense. But because the constitutions are written down and they're somewhere, it makes sense. The same thing, and I know I'm digressing for a bit, but it's the same way like when God wanted to give his laws, he did not just like throw them like twee. He actually took his time with Moses. If you're a Christian, then you're familiar with this story. I'm gonna be making a lot of references to the Bible and to the Christian worldview. So yes, just putting that out as a disclaimer. But the Lord actually took his time to write down on stone tablets and give them to the people of Israel, who did not exactly follow them, but they knew that they were bound to them. So I feel like even as we're going through this year, which is another reason why I have my workbook. If you haven't purchased my workbook, it is available online. I'm gonna key in the link as usual, and you can buy it whether you're across the globe, anywhere in the anywhere in the world. Really, you can get my my workbook. There's power in writing, and I honestly believe that if we can create a culture where we write things down, we're going to be so much better. So let's get back to the idea of letting mistakes sting, okay? So I was reading, okay, and I came across a very interesting person. I do not know how to. I'm going to try and like pronounce his name correctly. If I don't, and you feel like you know how to pronounce this name, please holler. So his name is Soren Kierkegaard. I think he's Dutch, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, should be. So anyway, Soren Kierkegaard is somebody that I did a bit of research on, and so I have a bit of stuff to talk about when it comes to him. So he was not a public official, he was not a preacher, he was not a politician. Kierkegaard was a philosopher. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I have gone down the rabbit hole in as far as philosophy is concerned, but that's because I know somebody who likes philosophy, so naturally I was just, I was influenced to kind of go into philosophy. So Kierkegaard was a deeply introspective human being who loved to think and to write his thoughts down. One of his defining moments, or one of the things that he's very well known for, this might shock a few people, but when he was in his 20s, he fell in love with a lady called Regine Olsen. And as the story goes, he got down on one knee and he proposed. But somewhere within the engagement, he broke it off very publicly. This was in Copenhagen in the 19th century. And it was sad, obviously. But I think that when you think about the idea of a broken engagement, it's humiliating, especially like if you're one of those people who is considered smart, or like you're considered able, and then like you get engaged and then you're not engaged anymore. It's sad. So Kierkegaard did not really like talk about it. He just chose to be quiet. He didn't seek out like a lot of attention like we do these days. He was just like, it happens. Because of this very public mistake, Kierkegaard became more reserved, but he also took some time to be introspective, which is something that I have been learning over the last couple of days. Even as I publish this episode, I am coming from a place where I faced an embarrassing situation. And at first, like normal human beings, I wanted to defend myself, okay? I had all of these explanations like really well planned. It was because of this and it was because of that. And then like I sat down with myself and I was like, see, all of those explanations are not helping the situation. Like the situation is, I'm embarrassed. A mistake was made. We need to correct the mistake. Does it hurt? Terribly. Terribly. It does. But I think the older you get, the more you face your troubles head on rather than cowering from them. Remember, the month of January is about foundations, building the right ones and uprooting the wrong ones, okay? My previous episode, I was talking about dealing with like the two sides of the spectrum. Is either pride or insecurity. I mean, one is as a result of the other, but you kind of have to, you just have to deal with it. The point is you have to deal with it. And if you're younger, you kind of think you have a lot of time, but the thing is, the older you get, the more these things pile up. So you have a lot more to deal with as an older leader as compared to when you were young. I'm reminded, and this is a very sometimes I think about this story and I'm just like, yo. So I know this person, okay? If you know me personally, you know who I'm talking about. If you don't know me personally, I will just give you this story. So I know this person and they are a leader. They consider themselves a leader, okay? And during one very public gathering, they stood up and they made some very interesting comments, for lack of a better word, because I can't say they were wrong, I can't say they were right. The only thing I can say is that they were interesting. And this person, this is what they went ahead to say: everything that I have ever said has come true. And every person that I have directed has been successful. Now, for me, who's also a leader, I sat there and I was like, you're being full of it. Not come with me here, okay? As leaders, we need to accept that we make mistakes, and we need to accept the consequences of the mistakes that we make. As leaders, we also need to understand that not everything that we say is the actual truth. Some of the things we say are because of the trauma that we've been through. Some of the things that we say is because of our upbringing. Some of the things that we say is simply because we were in the moment and we're just like, I'm going to say this thing. But when you get to the point where you have had an introspective meeting with yourself, like I have in the last few days, you realize that even you as a leader, you make mistakes and you need to accept that. And the sooner you accept that you make mistakes, the better you become as a leader. Because say you meet a person and you're trying to mentor them and you kind of give them a direction that is not really suited to what they eventually become. You need to accept that you made a mistake and you steered somebody in the wrong direction. And when they come back to you and say that you made a mistake, you need to be able to own up to it. And I think that we don't really want to confront such things as leaders. We want to be right all the time, but the only person who is right is God, sadly. The only person who cannot make mistakes is God. The rest of us, we're full of flaws. The rest of us are full of broken pieces. So we need to let our mistakes sting. And why am I even talking about this? Because I think there's a power that comes with vulnerability as a leader. I was in a leadership conference, I think, sometime in October, and this girl was speaking and she said that she would never allow herself to be vulnerable with her mentees. And I looked at her, I was like, so how are people going to trust you? I mean, it's fine if you don't want to show all of the skeletons in your closet, but at the same time, you in Superman actually has kryptonite. Kryptonite makes him weak. Let's see. The Flash has his nemesis. I forget the Reverse Flash. Like this, he's a superhero, but he has somebody who will always be his weakness, you know? And I mean, yeah, I've talked about Superman, I've talked about the Flash. There's a lot of other superheroes. But if you think about it critically, the honest truth is that as leaders, we have some flaws that we cannot escape from. Paul puts it beautifully in the Bible. He says, 3 times I asked the Lord to remove this thorn of my flesh. And he said, 3 times my grace is sufficient. What is the meaning of grace? The meaning of grace is a gift that you don't deserve, but we give it to you anyway, so that your life can be a little bit easier. So as leaders, we need to accept and embrace our flaws. I know for a fact, if I'm talking about myself as a leader, I know for a fact in crowds, I am very quiet. Like, I have tried. I'm better than I was when I was younger, but it's one of those things that I have embraced about myself, and daily I'm working on it. Like in a crowd, I can know all of the answers and I will not say a thing. I will just sit down there and probably allow the ship to sink. Not because like I want the ship to sink, it's just something that I personally struggle with. I don't dislike people, but sometimes I'm just very afraid of them if they're in a big mass, because why are you in a crowd? That is my flaw. That's, as I get older, I'm learning. Thank God I have surrounded myself with people who are able to navigate crowds. But if it was up to me, I don't understand why we have crowds. I can speak in front of people, like if I'm delegated to speak like at a conference or whatnot, I can, but like I'm seated in the middle of a crowd, I'll be like, nah. It's a flaw that I have come to embrace, and I made a lot of mistakes with it in the past, but I dealt with the consequences. Slowly but surely, I was like, okay, I caused that because I didn't speak up. Am I at 100%? No. But I'm getting there. So I think the bottom line is we need to stop defending our mistakes or defending ourselves and just accept that we made them. Let the pain. If that even makes sense, let the pain. And then once you're done feeling that pain, you can learn from it. Embarrassment is a tuition for greatness. I don't necessarily think that like there's a person on this earth who has walked and not been ashamed. Neither do I think that shame walks with us like for the rest of our lives. I think that we all have embarrassing moments, but sometimes like when you look at it like 10 years later, you laugh. You laugh out loud, like, yo, I cannot imagine I did that. It becomes something to laugh about. But if you hadn't really dealt with it, then you become the kind of leader who ends up being a control freak because you want to control each and every situation. And that's not leadership. That's just micromanagement, which in my opinion does not work. You don't micromanage people because at the end of the day, people have their own minds and they will think what they want when they're away from you. I think one of the things that I have truly excelled at is allowing people to use their brains. I was talking to... So I'm in grad school. I was talking to a fellow grad student in the middle of the week as I was having my epic, embarrassing moments. Okay, so having a conversation with him, and I remember just telling him, every time I'm given the opportunity to lead, I honestly let people use their brains. Because people can't use my brain to think. The way I think is not how somebody else thinks, and it's okay. Really, it's fine. Like, I look at life in terms of sunshine and rainbows. Like I'm always looking at the positives in life. I do have my extreme where sometimes I would be thinking, the world is about to end, but majority of the time I think about sunshine and rainbows. I have a very close friend who is my exact opposite. He's always thinking, what's the next mistake that could happen? Do we complement each other? Yes, we do. But if you have not dealt with your own mistakes, then you always think that somebody else is wrong and they're attacking you and they don't want you to be the best person ever. Then you end up micromanaging them and chasing them away from you. Remember, we're talking about mentorship. The idea of mentorship is to allow somebody to be the best version of themselves. You don't want tiny little versions of you, because why? Like, why? I mean, twins might look alike, but I do have friends who are twins. Like, I have friends that I've grown up with and they're identical twins, but their behaviors could not be further apart from each other. They're just very different, and it's okay. The bottom line of today's episode is 3 things. When you allow your mistakes to sting and you allow them to work whatever they're supposed to do in you, then you stop projecting, number 1. Number 2, you stop having some sort of fear. Just because somebody else is being noticed and you're not does not make you anything less than. You're still a full human being. You are intact. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that in that moment, the spotlight was not on you, and it's okay. If the spotlight is always on you, your life is going to be hard. And the third thing is, when you allow mistakes or when you allow embarrassment to fully pay the tuition for you being great, then you're able to wiggle out of control. You just stop controlling people. You let them be. I mean, if the creator of the universe is able to allow 8 billion people to think as they want, who are you? Those will be my closing remarks. I did not plan on saying that, but yeah, those will be my closing remarks. If the creator of the universe can allow 8 billion people to think as they want, imagine having 8 billion different ways of thinking. And we all just live on the earth, and none of us has been killed. So who are you to control people? Please allow your mistakes to shape you, and please pay your tuition for greatness through embarrassment. I have been your host, Nachasa Kimberly, and this is The Legacy Table. Bye!